MMA with the rippers and grippers, chopping meat, sizzling with those heavy hitters. Toss a roll against raw dogs, sparks start to fly. JSP's Libertini fighting in the sky. Hero throwing bombs, great point on the rise. Eternal grapple showing strength in his eyes.
Stop for the beef and meat.
Smash up, beefy locks, holding tight on the mat. Fist in fury battles, how about that? In the cage we fight till the last bell rings. Meat boy MMA bringing all the kings. Grippers, sizzlers, it's a wild scene. Beefy brawlers fighting.
Let's go, boys. Episode 190, Meat Boy MMA, the best kept secret on YouTube. And you see us rocking the Wampus background. Some issues at the grill. We'll get those solved for sure. But it's Wampus for now, Meat Boy. And smash sub if you're new here. Shout out to our latest sub, Stifler's mom. Smash sub, it costs nothing. We'll yield you something. So as always, we will break down a few fights for this weekend. But before we do, you trying to recap last week's UFC 307, Meat Boy. It was from Salt Lake City. A lot of good stuff happened. What stood out to you?
Yeah, no, it was a fun card, great fights nonetheless. Poatan, man, what an absolute G. He is the GOAT. He is the best thing the UFC has ever brought into the organization. Holy crap, there's never a boring fight with him. Even from the hardcores to the casuals, everyone's a fan. If you're not a fan, you're just an absolute hater dork, because how can you not like this guy? But yeah, the card was a pretty solid one. I thought Pena, I felt like that was a robbery, but maybe it was closer than I thought. I got to rewatch it, but I thought Benjamin City absolutely had that done. I mean, she dropped her a bunch of times. Mara Batista, absolute Meatlock, you know it. Roman Dolidze, of course, that was an easy win for the Georgian underdog. You never bet against Georgian underdog. Kayla Harrison, I don't know, definitely not impressed, but the division is definitely lacking skill since Nunes left. But was there ever actual skill when Nunes was there? I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, a lot of good questions for sure, and some interesting things that Pena decided to do on the mic afterwards, right? I mean, Kayla Harrison picks up the big win over Vieira. You would think that she would call her out, but instead she offered the trilogy carrot to Nunes, and Nunes' post on Instagram, maybe it's all pipe dreams, but maybe she does come back, because I think the 135 division is essentially dead. I mean, again, it was a fight where those are the two best representatives of the 135 division, and it didn't look much different from a PFL scrap, so a tough one there. I thought Pena was going to get the victory by split decision. In fact, it was exactly what I said, because I thought that if those rounds were even arguable, that the judges would find some way to get Pena that victory, and indeed they did. And you touched on a lot of good stuff. Poatan doing what he did. You and I both picked Roundtree, so we kind of went out on a limb thinking that Khalil, the stars would align, the crystals would be in the locker room, but nonetheless, the choice center vibes that he brought were not enough to go through Poatan. And of course, everyone loves Poatan. The walkout, the bow. I mean, the dude is next level fun and a true legend at this point. I mean, it's tough to argue with what this guy has done in the last 18 months. So good stuff there. You mentioned Dolidze finished Kevin Holland. What did you think about that one? Because Kevin Holland seemed like he wanted to go back out there. His cornermen kind of protecting him, however, because it was a brutal shot that he ate that really damaged his inside. So we were all over it. We said never bet against a Georgian underdog. We've been repping that line for a while now, and it proved true again. So were you surprised at all by Dolidze, or do you think he's the next title challenger?
Yeah, it definitely obviously wasn't a full fight like we would have hoped. It seemed that, Kevin Holland tore a rib or some sort, so that's tough, bad luck on his end. But I think Dolidze, he is, a very good fighter. Next contender, I don't know. Dolidze, whenever it comes to shine, he's fallen a little short, but he is a top 5 fighter, that is for sure. I could see him making a bounce back. I would love to see him versus old Blocky again. But yeah, I think he could be, hopefully he's getting better and better, but maybe they even run back the Kevin Holland one just to make sure that there was no fluke there.
Yeah, maybe it's similar to Holland versus the Little Dacus when there was the questionable somewhat ending there as well. But who knows? He keeps getting it done though. Dolidze as a dog is cashing, so someone to keep an eye on for sure. And just real quickly, I don't want to spend too much time on it, Meat Boy, because I don't want to bum you out. But your boy Wonder Boy lost again. He got slept again by Buckley. I don't know what to make of Wonder Boy Thompson, so I'll ask you next time he fights. But consider me not bullish on whoever he fights next. And then Superman Span subbed our boy OSP straight to the PFL, so rip to OSP, but a great career. Lots to hang his hat on. I'll never forget when we went to UFC 197 live. We were supposed to be seeing John Jones versus DC, and we ended up getting the homie OSP, but at least he stepped up, and I believe he went the distance. But lastly, you did touch on already, but yo, the Meatlock, Mario Bautista over Jose Waldo. I mean, we had dudes in the comments flaming us for the pick pre-fight, and then trying to cope a little bit afterwards when we were correct. Mario Bautista got the easy light work Meatlock dub. It was close though, and it was a split decision. People are crying robbery. Did you see that at all, or did you have it for Bautista just like we predicted?
No, it definitely was not a robbery. Like I think Pena versus Benjamin City was you could argue that's more of a robbery. It was a close fight. I could have saw it either way, but Mario did do enough into the judge's eyes, so that's enough for me.
Enough for me too. We'll take the dub. All love, K Money Mob. We appreciate you commenting on our videos always. Nonetheless, though, the Meatlock cashes. So we have another Meatlock this week, ready to keep the streak alive. It's UFC Vegas 98. You trying to jump into it?
Oh, lock's always gonna hit.
Swap us through then, because again, UFC Vegas 98, it's back-to-back Apex Scrappers, and this one is no different to kickstart the streak. I mean, it's Iron Turtle taking on Brad Tavares, and this is an interesting one because these two dudes were supposed to fight about 6 weeks ago. Iron Turtle has a bad weight cut and ultimately has to pull out within 24 hours of the contest, but they decided to keep this match intact, and now we think it's a meatlock. We didn't meatlock it previously because we thought we had better options at that time. We didn't, but for this weekend, this scrapper of an Apex, it seems like Iron Turtle at minus 190 is the best available. The dude is 17-6. He's 7-3 in the UFC, but his only recent loss in his last 5 contests was a very close, controversial split decision to Andre Muniz in a fight that a lot of people thought he did in fact win. And if one other judge gives Turtle that win, then that's a 5-fight win streak and 3 finishes sprinkled in between those 5 wins. So we liked what we've seen from Iron Turtle. The guy's younger. He probably is going to be more durable against Brad Tavares, who at 20-9 at plus 160 is an OG, is a guy who has been there, done that. He's fought everywhere. He's fought everyone, but he's lost 3 of 4, got finished in 2 of those 3, and he just doesn't win fights anymore unless it's against a guy like Chris Weidman, who is simply trying to survive, let alone win. So what are your thoughts on this meatlock? What do you love about Iron Turtle at minus 192? And how do you think he gets this one done over Brad Tavares?
I think he wins this by KO. Brad, for he's still pretty young to be honest, but man, he's been in the game for a while. He's fought the best of the best, from the worst of the worst, and his last 4 fights have not looked too well. And he got a decision versus Chris Weidman, which nothing impressive about that. I mean, he got knocked out by Edmund Shabazian, beat by Izzy, knocked out by Bruno, and then knocked out recently by Gregory Rodriguez. And I feel like for how recent that is this year, I think he's having another knockout to end 2024. Truly feel bad because I am a fan of Brad, but man, the turtle is no joke. He absolutely throws bomb. He seems to be getting better and better each fight. I mean, he had a split decision versus Andre Muniz, and Muniz is kind of like the boogeyman of the division. He only loses to top guys. Did have the upset versus Paul Craig, but Muniz is definitely a top fighter. He's smashing a bunch of dudes, but I think beyond that loss, he's looking pretty darn good. Lost to Gregory Rodriguez, which he was winning that fight and then got KO'd later in the second round. But I don't know. I think this is such a layup for Park that Park is going to send this guy to Shadow Realm. He's the younger fighter. He's the more active fighter, I would even argue, too, in recent times. And I think he's just going to have his number. And I think Brad is going to go to maybe the Karate BKFC or something.
Or PFL, I mean, they love these, late 30s, creeping into early 40s, aging OGs from the UFC. So Brad Tavares, to me, has future champ in PFL written all over it. But maybe he takes the gloves off and heads straight to BKFC. That would also be entertaining. But nonetheless, for now, for UFC's sake, it's so true, right? Iron Turtle is just getting better and better, whereas Brad Tavares is trending in a different direction. And if you look at Tapology, me boy, 76% is bullish on the Iron Turtle, 24% is rolling with Brad. It's basically based on both sides, though, in the sense that most of Tapology thinks this fight goes the distance. If you're taking Park, is it an early KO finish? Is it later? Or do you see why the decision backers are so prominent?
I definitely could see, decision, but I don't know. Brad getting knocked out. Iron Turtle's Iron Turtle, man. He throws some bombs with those turtle hands of his. So I could see him throwing a shell like Mario Kart and just putting, Tavares back, back in the back of the finish line.
Yeah, good stuff. We'll see if he's swinging red turtle shells or if it's those green dinkers that Brad Tavares will get bothered by, but ultimately not finished by. Should be very interesting. Obviously, Park is the meat lock for a reason. I'm probably leaning closer to the decision though, Meat Boy, just because Brad Tavares is kind of durable. I mean, you did bring up that fight against Edmund though. We were there, right? That was at the BMF at MSG, and that was easy light work. Brad Tavares got slept in 5 seconds, so we have seen him succumb to early strikes early, but I think that Iron Turtle probably just puts it on him and ultimately wins a decision. But nonetheless, it's an easy light work Meatlock, keeping the streak going. We thrown down just a simple 190 to net 100, get us over the 1,000 plus surplus mark and to 108 overall. So, any last thoughts on this week's Meatlock, Meat Boy?
No, this is definitely a lock nonetheless. Smash like, subscribe. Throw in the comments you agree, you ride in the meat, or you fade in the meat.
Yeah, you're riding meat, or are you on the bench? Do you think that the meat lock cash? Just let us know for sure. But swap us through, Meat Boy, because this one is going to be fascinating. It's The Rock's favorite fighter, Temba Garimbo, taking on Nico Price, the hybrid, who I was a little bit surprised to see is a plus 295 underdog, nearing 3-2-1, despite coming off a very nice win most recently over the Great White, Alex Morono, who's also on this card. But I was pretty impressed with what Nico did just a couple months ago back in June, especially given the fact that he hadn't won a fight in 5 contests. So for Nico Price to beat a very durable guy like the Great White, I thought the odds would be a little bit closer against a guy like Temba Garimbo, but I'm not that surprised in the sense that Temba Garimbo is another dude similar to the Turtle who is getting noticeably better. He's on a 3-fight win streak, and his most impressive win to date was that unanimous decision over Ramiz Brahimaj just a few months ago. But Brahimaj is also pretty bad, and the other dudes that Garimbo beat were also pretty bad. Pete Rodriguez, terrible. Takashi Ten Sato, not ideal. So Temba Garimbo is getting better, but has he faced a guy like Nico the Hybrid Price? And if not, any life as a 3-1 underdog for the hybrid, or is this light work for Garimbo?
Yeah, no, this is an interesting fight. I honestly I would love to hear The Rock's take. I would love to hear why he's his favorite fighter, why, Temba is the answer. What, in his 4 fights, 3 wins, 1 loss, has made him just such an amazing fighter where he's the favorite. Like, I would love to hear The Rock's sophisticated breakdown of that. That being said, Tempo Garumba, this is definitely a layup. You could even argue that maybe The Rock wanted this fight, where Nico Price, he's on his way out. I mean, he is just, man, he's either getting KO'd or he's barely getting by. Um, and I could totally see him getting knocked out. He's the hybrid. Sometimes he's rolling with the diesel, sometimes he forgot to plug in the charger. We just don't know. So hopefully the hybrid can come through. Hopefully it's an absolute slobber knocker, a wild fight. But I think Themba is going to win by a gritty, slow, maybe not that exciting in my opinion, decision fight.
Yeah, it's interesting because Nico Price does love to get slept on occasion, and he does love to get slept early, right? I mean, he lost that fight against Phil Rowe. He lost that fight against Robbie Lawler in the first 40 seconds. But then sometimes he'll go the distance against guys like Michel Pereira. So it's like sometimes Nico is as durable as can be, but other times he just likes to go to sleep early. So does Temba Grimbo have that same power as some of the other fighters that were able to finish Nico Price? That I don't know because although he did dominate Brahima most recently, there was a lot of wrestling. He mixed it up a lot. It was a true MMA dominant performance as opposed to just going out there and just YOLO sleeping the guy like he was able to do against Pete Rodriguez. But I don't think Pete Rodriguez is Nico Price, and I don't know. It won't surprise me if Nico Price is able to make these rounds a little bit closer, extend this fight a little bit longer, and if so, who knows what that looks like after 15. But Tapology is overwhelmingly bullish on the answer, Temba Gorimbo. 89% is rolling with Gorimbo. Only 11 is going with Price, and of the 89% going with Gorimbo, about 62% of it is Brown for the KO. So are you surprised at all that most of the Tapology Meat Boys are taking Gorimbo by KO, or do you see that because Nico Price, as we mentioned, just loves to get finished?
Yeah, man, I don't know. Nico definitely loves to get finished, but I just don't know if it's going to be early and often. Longer the fight goes, it's probably going decision. If someone isn't sleeping by round one, well, we know Nico might have taken a dive for The Rock's favorite fighter. But I hope this is an exciting fight. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Themba becomes my next favorite fighter. We shall see.
Yeah, it should be interesting for sure. I'll roll with you. I'll take Garimbo ever so slightly, but I think Decision has life as well, Meeple. I'm not as sold as Tapology is on Garimbo to go out there and sleep Price that easily, but who knows? Because he's the hybrid. His fights are difficult to predict, and tread carefully out there because Nico Price is a true wild man for sure. So we both have Garimbo. Swap us through, Meatboy, because another interesting fight, maybe the most interesting on the card. Jonathan Pierce is a minus 180 favorite, taking on Pat Slabatini, who at plus 150 is 5-2 in the UFC and is the former Cage Fury FC champ, but he's lost 2 of 3 and seems like he's finally really facing some serious adversity in his MMA career that we hadn't seen, at least not in the UFC to date, because this dude was on a fat win streak, running through everyone, and then got matched up against the Leech Damon Jackson as a fat favorite, but Leech had some personal stuff happening in his life, and that dude refused to lose on that night. So Damon Jackson maybe altered the career trajectory of Pat Slabatini, and Diego Lopez just finished him in 90 seconds a few months ago. So it's an interesting matchup here against another very highly touted prospect in JSP, who also is experiencing some adversity for the first time in his career, because similar to Slabatini, I mean, this dude had won 5 straight, picked up nice wins over guys like Darren the Damage Elkins, Kai Kamaka, some solid competition for sure, but he's lost 2 straight, got finished by Brito in a fight that he was winning before ultimately succumbing to the ninja choke, and then maybe even more concerningly was the most recent fight against David Obamna, where Obamna missed weight and still was able to thoroughly decimate JSP across 15 minutes. So I like the matchmaking in this one. JSP again is the favorite, minus 180. Is there any life for Slabatini at plus 150, or who do you think is the faker that actually gets exposed in this fight?
Yeah, this is a crazy one because this is definitely an Iceman Ripper vibe because I don't know which one's the faker. They are so dang similar. But man, I think I gotta go with Jonathan Pierce. I think his striking is a lot crispier. He has obviously 9 KOs, 2 submissions. His grappling is pretty high level. He should be able to stuff Pat Slabatini, and maybe even knock him out. I mean, Pat's not known to be not snuffed, but also JSP has been subbed the most too of all of his losses. So maybe Pat gets a sub, maybe JSP gets a knockout. Whoever gets to their game plan first, I feel like is gonna win, or one of them is a full-on faker and it's gonna be a one-side mauling. I don't know. I gotta go with JSP on this one. I don't know the way the vibe I'm getting from Pat Slabatini after Damon and then getting stuffed by Lopez. The striking clearly is nowhere near there. Jonathan Pierce striking is pretty darn solid. So it's either gonna be a decision, Jonathan, or a KO, I believe.
Yeah, his strikes are definitely solid. I definitely give him the advantage to Slabatini. I mean, we know JSP is a guy who trains over at Fight Ready MMA, and those dudes always come prepared in the stand-up realm for sure. But Pat Slabatini, I mean, this is a Henzo Gracie Philly guy, and we know how much you rep those dudes, whether it's Sean Brady, whether it's Body Bags, Ruzi Boev, the boy Basil Halfass. I mean, there's a lot of tough dudes there, and Pat Slabatini, while maybe having the disadvantage on the feet, Do you think he'll have a grappling slash wrestling advantage in this one? Because I think back to Slabatini's last win. It was against Lucas Almeida, and structurally, physically, those guys are pretty similar, right? Lucas Almeida is a big dude for the division, long, lanky. JSP is as well, and if we look at JSP's competition, we haven't really seen him face against such a strong power, takedown heavy, wrestling heavy guy before. So any chance that that could be the game plan? Slabatini takes him down, he holds him down, and maybe if not able to get a submission, which I think does have some life, he just can control him to a decision. Do you see any life for Slabatini there?
No, I definitely could see some life if he can just really put that top heavy wrestling pressure. But I don't know. I gotta imagine that JSP knows what's coming. He's gonna be prepared. He's gonna stuff it, knock him out.
Yeah, I could see it for sure, and I do find this to be a fight where someone does get exposed. Because I mean, when both these guys were on their win streaks, I gotta imagine we could run the tape on some Meat Boy MMA and find us arguing that these guys are future champs. But they've seen some recent adversity, and now I would say we're probably less bullish on that idea. So we'll see who the true next level fighter really is in this contest. Something tells me though, Meat Boy, I'm gonna lean on Slabatini. I just worry about where JSP is at this point, and if it's a battle of hunger, I'm taking Slabatini. I just think that he can find a way to grit a W out in this one. But I've been burned by Slabatini before and could very well be getting burned here because JSP is no joke. The dude is as tough as nails. He's well rounded and he's a monster for the division. So reluctantly, somewhat, I'll take Slabatini by close decision. Officially, you going JSP by finish?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick GSP by finish.
Yeah, he might, because again, Slabatini does get finished. So let us know in the comments if you're taking JSP or you think Pat Slab gets this one done. But swap us through, Meat Boy, because it's another interesting fight. It's a 170 showdown featuring D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez, who is minus 218 favorite, is 17-5 overall, and is 7-4 in the UFC. But it's a little bit deceptive of a stat because the dude has lost 3 straight, got finished in 2 of them, and the most recent loss was unanimous. He did go the distance, but he lost a clear decision, a decisive one to Kelvin Gastelum, and you hate to see that. But on the flip side, Alex Morono, I mean, this dude's 24-10-1 overall and loves alternating wins and losses, right? The last time we saw him, we mentioned earlier, was against Nico Price in a fight that he did not perform well, but the fight before that, he dominated Court McGee. Before that, though, he got dominated by Joaquin Buckley, and before that, he had the best performance of his career and submitted Tim Means in the second round. So the Great White is a very difficult fighter to predict. He's one of these dudes who's supremely up and down, but if the trajectory remains as it is, as he continues to alternate fights, then that would suggest he wins as a plus 180 dog in this one. So do you see some life for the Great White against a guy like D-Rod who hasn't won since he got that split decision win over the Leech way back in 2022? And you remember watching that fight at your house, the Leech got absolutely robbed in that contest. So any chance that D-Rod at minus 218 is way too expensive and Alex Morono continues to alternate wins and losses, or is the Great White just that bad?
Oh, yeah, he might be that bad to be honest. Um, it's just so hard to say, but I don't know. I'm pretty torn on this one because D-Rod not looking good, Morono not looking good. I think I'm gonna pick the underdog on this one, the Great White. He's an OG. He's been around forever. And D-Rod, I don't know. I just don't like what I've been seeing recently. Honestly, from either one of these guys. But I'm just gonna take the dog on this one because I could totally see this little upset, and these odds are very juicy.
And to that point, I mean, again, we're not bullish on either fighter, right? But to D-Rod, I mean, the guy's 37, right? He's going to be 38 in a couple weeks. And let's run through his losses, or his wins, rather, right? He beat Li Jingliang, the Leech, controversial split decision that most people thought he lost. He beat Kevin Lee, who wasn't even supposed to be in that weight class. Preston Parsons, who's that? Mike Perry loses to everyone, especially at 170. And then has finishes over Dwight Grant and beat Tim Means and Gabriel Green. I mean, the point being, D-Rod doesn't have this like litany of impressive W's, so it's tough for me to put too much stock in that against a guy like Morono, who is obviously on a same level, but is younger and I would argue has more impressive wins. I mean, the guy beat Cerrone, beat Court McGee, he beat Semi the Jedi. I mean, these are pretty decent guys that I think are better than D-Rod's wins personally. But again, it's not to suggest that the Great White is the next champ, but is he better than D-Rod? I'm kind of with you, Meat Boy. I like what Alex Morono is offering at plus 180, and I even think that Morono has finish life in this one because if this is the last fight on D-Rod's deal, then he might just be trying to show up. I mean, at this point, shoot, maybe he can earn another contract with an impressive finish, but something tells me that the D-Rod story in the UFC is over, and I think that BKFC or maybe even that elusive power slap transition could be the next move for D-Rod. But if you're taking Morono, do you think too that he could pick up a YOLO finish, or is a snoozer smasher of a decision more likely to you?
I think a snoozer smasher. Maybe Murata wins by KO. I don't know, but I think this is gonna be, it'll be an all right fight. I don't really have too much high hopes. I hope I'm underwhelmed expectation and it overperforms. But yeah, I think this is gonna be a snoozer decision, and I think the Great White is gonna get it done.
Yeah, let us know if we're tripping because Tapology is overwhelmingly bullish on D-Rod. 81% is taking Daniel Rodriguez, but we got the dog, the Great White in this one with the 19% of those Tapology sweaties. So I like Morono. Decision or finish. We'll see what the numbers look like come Saturday, but let's book it as a juicy dog for Alex Morono, Meat Boy. So swap us through 2 to go, and one that's pretty interesting. It's Grant Dawson as a fat favorite again, minus 440 against Rafa Garcia, who is plus 340. He's 4-3 in the UFC, but don't look now. The guy's won 4 of 5, and his last 2 fights has looked really dominant. To be honest with you, I was quite surprised with how well he did against Clay Guida, but that was over a year ago. I mean, it's about a year and a half ago at this point. He did look good though, and it was start to finish domination for Garcia. It is Clay Guida though who is pushing 50, and Grant Dawson meanwhile is 21-2-1. The odds makers respect him as a very respectful minus 440 favorite, and makes sense. The dude only has one loss in the UFC and basically 12 W's, but that one loss was against Bobby Green. It was 33 seconds into a meat event opportunity, and if there's one thing about Rafa Garcia, the dude does pack a punch and bring some power for sure. So any fears that Grant Dawson experiences a similar Bobby King Green outcome and gets absolutely YOLO slept by this plus 340 dog, or is Rafa Garcia just another can to keep Grant Dawson on his potential future champ path that he's been on?
Yeah, I could totally see a Bobby Green relapse where, Garcia absolutely snuffs him first round. But I don't know. I think this is gonna go decision. I'm pretty torn. Grant Dawson, if he can implement, heavy wrestling, I gotta imagine that that top pressure should stop, Garcia's jiu-jitsu, but maybe he gets a sneaky sub. I'm gonna lean Garcia. I like what I've been seeing better. Grant Dawson is kind of all over the place. It feels like recently, it's like the main event thing with Bobby Green. He absolutely took a dump in his refrigerator before he ate dinner, and just got knocked out when that was like probably one of the easiest locks of all time, and he fumbled it. So I just don't know if he's ever going to get to that top 3 level purely mentally. And Garcia, he's been really showing some good stuff recently, so I could see him getting it done. Maybe even a YOLO knockout to put a statement down.
Yeah, YOLO knockout for Garcia would be incredible. I mean, Tapology, as to be expected, they love Grant Dawson, 95% all over him, and only 5% go with Garcia. But even of the 5% go with Garcia, it's only 1% that go with that KO TKO. So you'd be in a small crowd, people, if you called that one correctly. But I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world. Again, Garcia has serious power. We've seen Grant Dawson fumble before. And I guess my only pushback to that claim would be when he did fumble the bag quite mightily against King Green, it was a meat event, different pressure, 5 round fight, different media obligations. This is third from the top on an apex scrapper. So when they bury Grant Dawson in situations like this, I think that that's when he excels, and we'll see when he gets that, whether it's another pay-per-view opportunity or a main card opportunity, or even just a meat event fight night opportunity, if he fumbles again. But for this apex scrapper, I'm going to take him over Rafa Garcia. I do think that it's a close fight, though, closer than the odds indicate, and definitely wouldn't part ways at Grant Dawson for minus 440, but I think by decision is probably safe. Maybe he'll be going out there gunning for a finish. I mean, he hasn't picked up a finish since he was able to absolutely dominate and submit Marco Madsen back in 2022. And that was one that his killer instinct really took over at the end. But historically, Grant Dawson is pretty content with getting that decision. And we saw that recently when he rebounded against Joe Selecki. So I think decision for Dawson is probably the play here. But you're going Garcia. Are you officially going Garcia by KO? Because that's wild.
It's a wild one, but you know what? The UFC's been wild, the judge has been wild, and I think wild things are happening this weekend and potentially the next few fights. So stay tuned and watch some wild stuff happen.
Yeah, very nice. It is MMA. It's the UFC. Strange things happen, and stranger things than Garcia knocking out Grant Dawson are happening all the time. So swap us through, Meat Boy. Last one. It's the meat event. It's one we are all very excited about, and it's Brandon Royval, former title challenger, a 6-3 fighter in the UFC, coming in as a plus 230 dog in this one against Tatsuro Taira, who is 16-0, undefeated. The dude has been running through everybody. We've meat locked him here and there, and he's always cashed for us because this is a dude who also gets better every single fight, yet his levels are already so high that when he does improve, it's almost mind blowing because the kid is still young, yet he's advancing so quickly. And to me, looks like a different breed, a different physical specimen in this division when compared to the rest. But I know that you historically always rep Brandon Royval. I don't blame you. The guy has won 4 of 5 and just beat Brandon Moreno in Mexico in a close split decision, but one that you could definitely give to Brandon Royval, and I think you even did give to Brandon Royval. So to beat Brandon Moreno in a rematch in his backyard is a testament to how high level Brandon Raw Dog Royval is. But Tatsuro Taira has seemingly been unchallenged thus far, and the last time we saw him, it was performance of the night over Alex Perez, who is also a title challenger. He's also one of the highest level guys in the division, and Tatsuro Taira essentially exploded his knee with a takedown knee explosion. It was one of the gnarliest finishes I've ever seen, but technical and strategic from Taira's outcome. It wasn't just like a random YOLO thing he did. He tried to do it and he did. So Taira's doing things we've never seen before. Royval is a different level though, and just beat Moreno. So at plus 230, do you like the Raw Dog in this fight, or does Taira remain undefeated? Let us know how happy he is on the mic and fights for the title next.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's inevitable. One of these guys are fighting for the title next. But man, I'm so torn because yeah, Tatsuro's so freaking good. But I don't know if I'm full Taporia yet. I think I'm more Max where I gotta see this fight to believe what's gonna happen. I gotta pick my boy Raw Dog. I think he's gonna be dogging it the whole time. He is a different caliber, and if Tatsuro absolutely decimates him, I'm on the train. I'm full Taporia. He's never gonna lose. He's gonna smash everybody, and he is the future GOAT of that division. I'm very curious to see how he does, and if this is a one-sided, a close fight, or whatnot. But all I know is if he beats Raw Dog, I feel bad on whoever he fights next, aka the champ. I'm gonna feel very bad for that guy because he's probably gonna get decimated, aka Pantoja.
Yeah, Tatsuro Taira, Ilya Tatsuria versus Pantoja would be absolutely insane. I would love to see that. And if Royval gets this one done, then that's always a fun fight as well. So I agree, this does have title implications. And if you look at Tapology, me boy, 78% is rolling with Tatsuro Taira. Majority by Copper Sub. They think that he's going to take Raw Dog down and he's going to submit him down there, despite Royval being very competent on the ground and very slick with his jiu-jitsu. So is that a testament to just how bullish the community is on this fighter Tatsuro, that they think not only is he going to finish Royval, but that he's going to do so in a way that Royval is usually doing to his opponents?
Yeah, it's either something that I'm missing and I don't know, and all these guys have insider stuff that, Tatsuro is that guy. Because as far as I'm concerned, Royval is top one, top two grappler in that division. And like I said, I'm full Max Holloway right now, where I gotta see it to believe that he's a better grappler than, and he's gonna be able to submit Raw Dog. Raw Dog is no joke. Anything is possible, but man, if he submits and makes it look easy, holy smokes, it's just future champ written all over it. Um, but yeah, if anything, maybe decision, I guess submission. But I would be so surprised if Royval loses this. He's got so much more experience, way higher level fights, more high-level fights than Tatsudo, so this should be one heck of a fight. I'm so excited. This is a sick fight.
Yeah, this is an absolutely sweet fight for sure. I'm glad they gave these guys the meat event opportunity because both are well deserving for sure. I've been torn going back and forth. I hear your perspectives and been listening to some out in this sphere, but something tells me that Tatsudo is going to get this one done. And while you're riding with the Max Holloway vibes of seeing it to believe it, I'm believing it because I've seen it, Meat Boy. I think Taira is that guy, and I was surprised to see that Royval is a little bit bigger than Tyra because Tyra to me just seems like this most physically imposing dude out there. He's just so strong, and I was a little bit surprised to see Royval being a little bit taller and having a slight reach advantage. But I just wonder how the strength will factor into this one, and if Taira is as strong as I think he is, like I feel like this dude is a bantamweight fighting at flyweight. I just see him being able to smash even a guy that is as strong on the ground as Raw Dog is. So I'm taking Tyra by dominant fashion. I honestly think he gets a late finish in this one after really just draining Raw Dog and beating him up for about probably 20 minutes or so. So I might be going out on a limb on this one because I have slept on Royval before, and when I did, it did not work out for me always. So I hate to diminish your boy Raw Dog, but I am a believer of Tatsuria in this one, Meat Boy. So am I tripping at all, or is this kind of a coin flip for you too? You're just sort of leaning Raw Dog.
Yeah, definitely coin flip, but like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if he beats Raw Dog. He could be the truth, but I gotta see it to believe it. So until then, I gotta pick my boy Raw Dog. He's just got a proven track record, so much more experience, so many more better wins on the levels. Tatsudo has great wins, but nothing like Raw Dog. I mean, he doesn't have a Brandon Moreno win. That's just, you know, ex-champ, no big deal. But I guess people forgot about that, or they forget how good Raw Dog's grappling is. I'm not too sure, or they know something I don't. Or I'm just a Tatsudo hater, I guess. But I can't wait to see it and believe it. But until then, I gotta go with the Raw Dog.
Yeah, fair enough. Let us know in the comments if you too are taking the Raw Dog as a decent plus 230 dog, because those are some raw odds for as talented of a fighter as Raw Dog is. So 230 is juicy. I'm taking Tyra, however. Let us know who you're rolling with. And lastly, Meat Boy, last week I went 5-2. You went 3-4. We broke down 6 this week. The Meatlock obviously is the Iron Turtle, which is cashing. How well do you think you do after this Apex Scrapper? 6 fights.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with 4-2.
4-2 for me. I'm saying it's a 5-1 outcome for your boy, and ultimately it's the Meatlock. However, that is the guaranteed one for us both. So let us know if you like Iron Turtle, if you agree or disagree with any of the picks on this scrapper of a meat down, and any last thoughts, me boy.
No, smash that me, subscribe, and turn notification bell so you don't miss a meat lock or another video.